Hey history enthusiasts and curious minds, get ready for a journey back to ancient Rome, where some beauty secrets were, well, let's just say, incredibly bizarre. Today, we're tackling a question that sounds like something out of a wild rumor. Why did Roman women buy gladiator sweat? Seriously, it's not a joke. Before we unravel this fascinating and slightly gross mystery, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and if this video blows your mind, give it a thumbs up and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us bring more untold stories to light. Imagine ancient Rome at its peak. A bustling city, grand architecture, powerful emperors, and gladiatorial games that captivated millions. These gladiators, these warriors of the arena, were the superstars of their time. They were the epitome of strength, courage, and raw virility. They fought, bled, and often died for the entertainment of the masses. But beyond the roar of the crowd and the clash of steel, there was a peculiar side business happening right outside the Colosseum. Legend has it, and historical accounts support it, that after a grueling battle, Roman women, particularly those from the elite classes, would eagerly line up to purchase something truly unexpected: the sweat and grime scraped from the bodies of these very gladiators. Yes, you heard that right. Gladiator sweat. Bottled, sold, and highly coveted. It sounds unbelievable, right? Why on earth would anyone want that, let alone pay for it? This practice wasn't just a fleeting fad. It was rooted in deep-seated beliefs about power, virility, and the transfer of essence. In Roman society, there was a strong belief that the qualities of a person could be transferred through their bodily fluids. Gladiators, being symbols of peak physical condition and martial prowess, were thought to possess an almost magical essence. Their sweat, imbued with their strength and vitality, was believed to hold potent properties. So what exactly were these Roman women doing with this precious pungent liquid? Was it a perfume? A potion? A strange form of ancient skincare? The answers are as intriguing as the question itself, and they reveal a fascinating glimpse into the beauty standards, superstitions, and social dynamics of one of history's most powerful empires. Get ready to have your perceptions of ancient beauty rituals completely challenged, because this story is far stranger than fiction. To understand why gladiator sweat became such a sought-after commodity, we first need to delve into the immense cultural significance of gladiators in ancient Rome. These weren't just fighters. They were celebrities, symbols, and for many, objects of intense fascination and desire. Gladiators embodied the very ideals of Roman masculinity: strength, courage, discipline, and an unwavering will to survive in the face of death. They were the ultimate athletes, performers, and warriors, all rolled into one. The gladiatorial games were more than just entertainment. They were a central pillar of Roman society, a spectacle that reinforced imperial power and Roman values. The arena was a place where ordinary men could achieve extraordinary fame, even if it was fleeting and often ended in tragedy. Their bodies, honed by rigorous training and scarred by battle, were seen as paragons of physical perfection and resilience. This made them incredibly attractive, not just to women, but to Roman society as a whole. For Roman women, gladiators represented an almost primal force. They were the embodiment of virility and raw power, qualities that were highly valued in a society that emphasized lineage and strength. The idea that some of this essence, this potent energy, could be transferred through their bodily fluids was not as far-fetched as it might seem to us today. Ancient medical and philosophical beliefs often linked bodily fluids to a person's inherent qualities and health. Beyond their physical prowess, gladiators were also seen as figures who regularly confronted death and emerged victorious. This brush with mortality and their ability to overcome it added another layer to their mystique. Their sweat, therefore, wasn't just perspiration. It was seen as a concentrated essence of their strength, their courage, and their very life force. It was believed to carry the power of their victories and their resilience, making it a potent ingredient for those seeking to harness such qualities for themselves. This intense admiration and almost mythical status elevated gladiator sweat from a mere bodily excretion to a valuable, almost sacred substance. It was a tangible piece of their power, a way for ordinary individuals, particularly women, to connect with and perhaps absorb some of the extraordinary qualities these arena heroes possessed. This deep cultural reverence for gladiators is the fundamental key to unlocking the mystery of why their sweat became such a prized possession. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. What exactly did the Romans believe gladiator sweat could do? While modern science tells us sweat is primarily water, salts, and metabolic waste, ancient Romans operated under a different understanding of the human body and its fluids. Their beliefs were often a blend of empirical observation, folk medicine, and deep-seated superstitions. And in this context, gladiator sweat was seen as far more than just a byproduct of exertion. One of the primary beliefs was that the sweat, particularly when mixed with the dust and grime of the arena, contained the virtues of the gladiator. Virtues in Latin doesn't just mean virtue in our modern sense. It encompasses manliness, courage, excellence, and strength. By applying this substance to their skin, Roman women believed they could absorb some of these desirable qualities. It was a form of sympathetic magic, where the essence of the strong and victorious could be transferred to the user. For beauty purposes, it was widely believed that gladiator sweat could improve complexion, reduce blemishes, and even act as an anti-aging agent. The idea was that the vitality and purity of the gladiator's body, as evidenced by their physical prowess, would somehow cleanse and rejuvenate the skin of the user. It was the ultimate ancient skincare product, promising not just superficial beauty, but a deeper, almost spiritual connection to strength and vitality. Beyond cosmetics, there are also mentions, though less frequent, of gladiator sweat being used as an aphrodisiac or a fertility aid. The logic here was similar. The virility of the gladiator, so evident in his performance in the arena, could be transferred to enhance one's own romantic or reproductive capabilities. While modern scholars debate the extent of its use as an aphrodisiac, the cosmetic and medicinal applications seem to have been more widely accepted and practiced. It's crucial to remember that ancient Roman medicine was vastly different from ours. They didn't have microscopes or germ theory. Their understanding of health and disease was often intertwined with spiritual beliefs and the concept of humors. In this framework, the idea of absorbing beneficial qualities from a powerful individual's bodily fluids was not irrational. It was a logical extension of their worldview, making gladiator sweat a highly valued, albeit peculiar, commodity in their quest for beauty, health, and power. So how exactly was this precious gladiator sweat collected? It wasn't as simple as catching drips in a bucket. The process was quite specific and involved a tool that was common in ancient Roman bathing rituals: the strigil. A strigil was a curved metal instrument, typically made of bronze or iron, used to scrape off dirt, oil, and sweat from the body after exercise or bathing. after a gladiatorial contest, or even after a rigorous training session, the gladiators would be attended to. Instead of simply washing off, their bodies, covered in sweat, dust, and sometimes blood, would be meticulously scraped. This wasn't just for hygiene. It was a deliberate act of harvesting. The strigil would be drawn firmly across the skin, collecting the mixture of perspiration and arena grime into a small container or vial. This mixture was known as gloios in Greek, and it was this gloios that was then sold. Imagine the scene. The roar of the crowd has died down, the arena is being cleaned, and in a quieter corner, the gladiators are undergoing this ritual. Their bodies, still hot from exertion, are being scraped clean, and every drop of that sweat-infused grime is carefully collected. It was a stark contrast to the violent spectacle that had just unfolded, yet equally fascinating in its own way. This collection method ensured that the sweat was not just pure perspiration, but also contained the dust and dirt of the arena, which some believed added to its potency. The containers were often small, perhaps made of glass or terracotta, designed to hold a small, precious amount of the substance. These vials would then be sealed and made ready for sale, primarily to wealthy Roman women who eagerly awaited their chance to acquire this unique beauty and health elixir. The act of scraping was not unique to gladiators. Athletes in ancient Greece and Rome also had their bodies scraped clean after exercise, and this gloios was also valued. However, the gladiators, with their heightened status and association with life or death struggles, made their sweat particularly potent and desirable. This meticulous collection process underscores the value placed on this bodily fluid and the lengths to which people would go to obtain it. Once collected, the gladiator sweat, or gloios, began its journey from the dusty, blood-stained arena to the perfume vanity tables of Rome's elite women. This wasn't a casual exchange. It was a commercial enterprise, albeit one that operated on the fringes of what we might consider conventional trade. The small vials or pots containing the precious substance were sold, often by vendors positioned strategically outside the amphitheaters after the games concluded. These vendors understood the market. They knew that the women, captivated by the gladiators' prowess and the raw energy of the arena, would be eager to acquire a piece of that power. The price for these small containers of sweat was likely considerable, reflecting its perceived potency and the status associated with its acquisition. It was a luxury item, accessible primarily to the wealthy, further cementing its allure. Upon purchase, the gladiator sweat was then taken to the private chambers of Roman women. Its application varied, but historical accounts and interpretations suggest several primary uses. For skincare, it was often mixed with oils or perfumes to create a kind of ancient cosmetic balm. This concoction would then be applied to the face and body, believed to cleanse the skin, reduce imperfections, and impart a youthful glow. The idea was that the strength and vitality of the gladiator would be transferred, making the user's skin as resilient and radiant as the warrior himself. Beyond topical application, some sources suggest it was used in more intimate ways, perhaps as an anointing oil, or even ingested, though evidence for the latter is less robust. The belief in its aphrodisiac qualities meant it might have been incorporated into love potions or rituals aimed at enhancing fertility or attraction. Regardless of the specific method, the underlying principle remained the same: to absorb the essence of the gladiator's virtues. This entire process, from the brutal spectacle of the arena to the intimate act of applying the sweat, highlights the complex relationship between Roman society, its heroes, and its pursuit of beauty and power. It shows how deeply intertwined superstition, social status, and personal desires were in the daily lives of ancient Romans, turning a bodily fluid into a highly prized commodity. The exact primary use of gladiator sweat has been a topic of debate among historians and classicists. Was it predominantly a cosmetic, a medicinal remedy, or a potent aphrodisiac? The truth, as with many ancient practices, is likely a nuanced blend of all three, with emphasis shifting depending on individual belief and context. The most commonly cited use, and arguably the one with the most historical backing, is its application as a cosmetic. Roman women, much like women throughout history, were concerned with maintaining youthful, clear, and radiant skin. The belief that gladiator sweat, imbued with the virtues of these powerful men, could cleanse and rejuvenate the skin was widespread. It was applied topically, often mixed with oils or perfumes, to reduce blemishes, improve complexion, and perhaps even as a primitive form of anti-aging cream. The association with strength and vitality made it a desirable ingredient for beauty rituals, promising not just superficial improvements, but a deeper, almost energetic enhancement. Then there's the aphrodisiac claim. This is where the narrative often gets sensationalized. While the idea of using gladiator sweat to boost sexual allure or fertility is certainly intriguing, direct ancient evidence specifically for its widespread use as an aphrodisiac is less robust than for its cosmetic applications. However, given the Roman fascination with virility and the symbolic power of gladiators, it's plausible that some individuals might have used it with this intention. The line between a cosmetic that enhances beauty, and thus attractiveness, and an outright aphrodisiac can be blurry, especially in ancient belief systems where physical vitality was often linked to sexual prowess. Finally, there's the medicinal aspect. Ancient medicine often incorporated unusual ingredients, and bodily fluids were no exception. While less documented than its cosmetic use, it's conceivable that gladiator sweat was also employed in certain remedies, perhaps for skin ailments or other conditions where a transfer of strength was deemed beneficial. The belief in its healing properties would stem from the same root as its cosmetic appeal, the inherent power and health of the gladiator. Ultimately, the varied interpretations highlight the multifaceted nature of ancient Roman beliefs. What is clear is that gladiator sweat was a highly valued commodity, seen as possessing powerful properties that transcended mere physical perspiration. Whether for beauty, love, or health, its significance lay in its perceived ability to transfer the extraordinary essence of the gladiator to the ordinary Roman citizen. The acquisition and use of gladiator sweat was not merely a personal beauty or health choice. It was also a subtle, yet potent indicator of social status in ancient Rome. Like many luxury goods, its rarity and the effort required to obtain it made it a symbol of wealth and influence. Only the elite, those with the means and access, could regularly acquire genuine gladiator sweat. The vendors outside the arenas would likely have charged a premium for these vials, making them inaccessible to the common Roman citizen. This exclusivity elevated gladiator sweat beyond a simple cosmetic. It became a statement piece, a silent boast of one's position in society. Imagine a Roman matron, her skin glowing, subtly hinting at the source of her radiance. While the practice might not have been openly discussed in polite conversation, its use would have been known within certain circles. Possessing gladiator sweat implied a connection to the powerful world of the arena, a proximity to the very essence of Roman strength and spectacle. It was a way to participate, albeit indirectly, in the glory and excitement of the games. Furthermore, the act of using such a unique and somewhat unconventional product showcased a certain daring and sophistication. It suggested an awareness of esoteric beauty practices and a willingness to embrace the unconventional in pursuit of perfection. This added another layer to its social significance, distinguishing those who were truly in the know from the rest of the populace. In a society where appearances and social standing were paramount, every detail mattered, from the finest silks to the most exotic perfumes, and yes, even to the most unusual beauty treatments. Each element contributed to one's public persona. Gladiator sweat, therefore, fit perfectly into this intricate web of social signaling, serving as a peculiar yet powerful testament to the wealth, influence, and perhaps even the adventurous spirit of its Roman female patrons. The use of gladiator sweat, while certainly one of the most famous, was by no means the only bizarre beauty practice embraced by ancient Romans. Their quest for beauty and health often led them to experiment with ingredients and methods that would make us cringe today. This highlights a broader cultural context where the lines between medicine, magic, and cosmetics were often blurred. For instance, bird droppings were sometimes used in facial masks, believed to whiten the skin. Crocodile dung was another popular ingredient for its supposed cleansing and exfoliating properties. Imagine the smell. And it wasn't just exotic animal waste. Some Romans used lead-based cosmetics, despite knowing the dangers of lead poisoning, to achieve a pale complexion. The desire for beauty often outweighed concerns for health. Another peculiar practice involved the use of urine. Yes, you heard that right. Roman women and men sometimes used aged urine as a mouthwash, believing its ammonia content would whiten teeth. While it does have some chemical basis for cleaning, the thought of it is certainly off-putting to modern sensibilities. Even more unsettling, some Roman remedies and cosmetics incorporated human placenta, or even blood, believing these substances held vital life forces that could be transferred for rejuvenation or healing. The belief in sympathetic magic, where properties of one substance could be transferred to another, was a powerful driver behind many of these practices. These examples, alongside gladiator sweat, paint a vivid picture of a society deeply invested in appearance and well-being, but with a vastly different understanding of how to achieve it. They relied on a mix of traditional knowledge, superstition, and what they perceived as the most potent ingredients available, no matter how strange or repulsive they might seem to us. It reminds us that beauty standards and the methods to achieve them are constantly evolving, and what is considered normal in one era can be utterly shocking in another. Like all trends, the fascination with gladiator sweat, and indeed the gladiatorial games themselves, eventually waned. The decline was gradual, influenced by a confluence of factors, including changing social values, the rise of new philosophical and religious beliefs, and the eventual fall of the Western Roman Empire. As Christianity gained prominence within the Roman Empire, the brutal spectacles of the arena came under increasing scrutiny. The Church actively condemned gladiatorial combat as inhumane and pagan. Emperors, influenced by Christian teachings, began to issue edicts against the games. While these prohibitions were not always immediately effective, they chipped away at the cultural acceptance and popularity of the contests. Economically, maintaining the vast infrastructure required for gladiatorial games became increasingly difficult as the empire faced internal strife and external pressures. The cost of training, housing, and equipping gladiators, along with maintaining the arenas, was immense. As resources dwindled, the frequency and grandeur of the games diminished. With the decline of the gladiatorial games, the supply of fresh gladiator sweat naturally dried up. The iconic figures who embodied strength and virility were no longer performing in the arenas, and thus their sweat ceased to be a readily available commodity. This forced Roman women, and indeed the entire society, to seek alternative beauty and health remedies. Furthermore, as the Roman Empire itself began to fragment and eventually collapse in the West, the centralized power and the cultural institutions that supported the gladiatorial games faded away. The focus shifted from grand spectacles to survival, and the peculiar beauty practices associated with them became relics of a bygone era. The very concept of a gladiator, once a symbol of Roman might, became a historical memory, and with it, the strange allure of their sweat. This marked the end of a truly unique and somewhat disturbing chapter in ancient Roman history. Looking back at the Roman practice of using gladiator sweat from our modern vantage point, it's easy to dismiss it as primitive, superstitious, or even disgusting. However, it's crucial to approach such historical practices with a degree of empathy and an understanding of the cultural context in which they occurred. What seems bizarre to us was perfectly logical within their worldview. From a scientific perspective, we know that sweat, while containing some electrolytes and trace elements, doesn't possess magical properties or the ability to transfer virtues. Modern dermatology relies on scientifically proven ingredients and sterile practices. The idea of applying bodily fluids from another person, especially without proper sanitation, would be considered highly unhygienic and potentially dangerous due to the risk of infection. Yet, the underlying human desires that drove these practices are timeless. The quest for beauty, vitality, and a connection to powerful figures remains. Today, we might buy celebrity-endorsed skincare products, consume energy drinks to feel more vigorous, or wear merchandise associated with our favorite athletes. While the methods are vastly different, the psychological drivers, the desire to emulate, to absorb perceived qualities, to feel closer to an ideal, share a common thread with the Roman women who sought gladiator sweat. Furthermore, the story of gladiator sweat serves as a fascinating case study in the history of medicine and cosmetics. It highlights how human understanding of the body and its functions has evolved dramatically over millennia. It also reminds us that what is considered cutting-edge or effective in one era can become a curiosity or even a cautionary tale in another. So, while we might cringe at the thought of applying gladiator sweat, it offers a valuable lens through which to examine our own contemporary beauty standards and health trends. It prompts us to consider the beliefs that underpin our choices and to appreciate the scientific advancements that have made modern skincare and medicine safer and more effective. It's a powerful reminder that history is full of strange and wonderful practices, each reflecting the unique worldview of its time. While the concept of gladiator sweat might seem like a sensationalized myth, historical and archaeological evidence provides compelling support for its reality. Though direct physical evidence of bottled gladiator sweat is rare, given its organic nature and the passage of millennia, we can piece together the story from various sources. Firstly, ancient Roman writers and historians, such as Pliny the Elder, mention the practice. While their accounts might not always be exhaustive, their references indicate that the collection and use of gloios, the mixture of sweat and grime, from athletes and gladiators was a known phenomenon. These literary sources provide the primary textual basis for our understanding of this peculiar custom. Archaeological finds, particularly of strigils, are abundant. These scraping tools have been discovered in numerous Roman sites, including bathhouses and gladiatorial training grounds. While the strigil was primarily a bathing implement, its widespread use confirms the Roman practice of scraping the body clean after exertion. The fact that these tools were used on gladiators, combined with textual accounts, strongly suggests the collection of their bodily residue. Furthermore, the discovery of small ornate vials and containers in Roman contexts, particularly in areas associated with wealthy households or beauty rituals, lends circumstantial support. While these containers wouldn't explicitly state their contents, their size and design are consistent with holding precious liquids or balms, making them plausible candidates for gladiator sweat containers. Beyond direct evidence, the broader cultural context of Roman beliefs about bodily fluids, sympathetic magic, and the veneration of athletes and warriors provides a strong framework for understanding why such a practice would exist. The Romans believed in the transfer of qualities, and the gladiator, as an embodiment of strength and virility, was a prime source for such a transfer. In essence, while we may not have a perfectly preserved labeled bottle of gladiator sweat, the combination of ancient texts, archaeological artifacts, and a deep understanding of Roman culture paints a clear picture. The practice was real, it was valued, and it offers a fascinating window into the complex world of ancient Roman beauty and belief. The story of Roman women buying gladiator sweat is more than just a quirky historical anecdote. It's a window into the enduring fascination humanity has with power, beauty, and the bizarre. It reminds us that while cultures and technologies evolve, certain fundamental human desires remain constant. Firstly, it highlights our timeless quest for beauty and youth. From ancient concoctions to modern-day serums, people have always sought ways to enhance their appearance. The difference lies in our understanding of science and hygiene. What was once a mystical transfer of virtues is now understood through biochemistry and dermatology. Yet, the desire for radiant skin and a youthful glow persists. Secondly, it underscores the human tendency to imbue objects and substances with symbolic power. Gladiators were symbols of strength, courage, and virility. Their sweat, therefore, became a tangible representation of these qualities. This symbolic transfer is still evident today, whether it's wearing a sports jersey to feel connected to a team's success, or buying products endorsed by powerful figures in hopes of emulating their traits. Finally, this tale, along with other strange Roman practices, fuels our endless curiosity about the past. History is not just a collection of dates and battles. It's a rich tapestry of human experiences, beliefs, and eccentricities. Stories like Gladiator Sweat remind us that ancient civilizations were complex, often contradictory, and full of surprises that challenge our modern assumptions. So, the next time you hear about a strange historical practice, remember the Roman women and their gladiator sweat. It's a testament to the human imagination, the power of belief, and the lengths to which people will go in pursuit of their desires. It's a story that continues to captivate us, not just for its oddity, but for what it reveals about the timeless aspects of the human condition. Thanks for joining me on this journey into ancient Rome's most peculiar beauty secret. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating historical deep dives.